Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you are well. In our lecture today, we will read and analyze the poem What is Our Life by the poet Sir Walter Raleigh, who lived between 1552 to 1618. So this lecture will include the poem's text, form and rhyme, theme, and figurative language, represented by metaphor and extended metaphor. Now, moving on to the poem's text of What is Our Life by Sir Walter Raleigh. The poem's text. What is our life? The play of passion, our mirth, the music of division, our mother's warmth, the chiming house's bee, where we are addressed for life's short comedy. The air the stage, heaven the spectator is, who sits and views whose over death act amiss. The graves which hide us from this crouching sun are like drawn curtains when the play is done. Thus playing pass we to our latest rest, and then we die in earnest, not in jest. Now, after reading the poem's text, we will move on to know about the form and rhyme in this poem. Well, actually, the poem is a lyrical poem with rhyme scheme AA, BB, CC, DD, and EE, as you will see here. We have the first two lines end with the sound ne, passion, division. So we have the first sound labeled by A, AA. The third and fourth lines have the sound long E, B, comedy. So here we have the second sound labeled by the letter B. So we have B and B. The fifth and the sixth lines ended with the sound Z, is, amiz, labeled by the letter C. So we have C and C. Moving on to the lines, the seventh and eighth ended with the sound ne, sun, done, labeled by the letter D, D and D. The last two lines ended with the sound te, rest and jest, labeled by the letter E. So we have E and D. Now, having known the form and rhyme of this poem, what about its theme? What is the main idea or ideas used in this poem? Well, in this poem, the poet tries to define life and investigate its nature, and also gives his evaluation of it. The poem starts with a question about life. what is our life? And immediately answers that question by comparing it to a play of passion. So, what is our life? A play of passion. What does this mean? Well, according to the poet, life is a play of passion because all the situations that man faces in his daily life evokes a certain kind of passion, like happiness, sadness, despair, melancholy, love, hatred, and so on. Moreover, for the poet, life is not a serious play, but a comedy. And in order to live in this life happily and peacefully, one must not take it as seriously as it seems. So, what is our life? A play of passion. Okay, now, after knowing the main theme and the main idea used in this poem, we will move on to know about the figurative language used in this poem, like metaphor and extended metaphor. Well, in the previous lecture, we defined a metaphor. So, what is a metaphor? Actually, metaphor is one of the sense poetic devices. It is also a comparison between two things, like simile. However, while in simile we have an explicit comparison, here we have an implicit comparison between two different things or objects. It is used to emphasize some points of similarity between these two things that are different. In other words, metaphor is used in order to see certain aspects of something through the use of another thing, which is totally different. For example, I am feeling blue until we become like the little girl in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. None of us are likely to turn as blue as Blueberry. This metaphor means someone is sad. Another metaphor. I'm drowning in a sea of grief. Here, grief is so overwhelming that the person feels helpless, like they are being pulled under water. His words cut deeper than a knife. Words actually don't materialize into sharp objects, so they cannot cut. However, in this metaphor, someone has said something hurtful to another. Also, in the previous lecture, we defined an extended metaphor. So, what is an extended metaphor? Actually, it is a metaphor which covers a whole poem or great parts of it, like in our poem today. So, as a vivid example for the use of metaphor and extended metaphor in poems is Sir Walter Raleigh's What is Our Life? Nevertheless, the important question is here: how do metaphor and extended metaphor used in this poem? Well, first of all, we have the use of metaphor. The expression, a play of passion, combines between life and play. So Raleigh's assertion in the first line that our life is a play of passion is a metaphor because it equates life and play. So it is clear that the principal term here, life, is abstract, vague, intangible, or unfamiliar, whereas the secondary term here, play, is concrete, definite, and familiar. Moreover, metaphor is shown in the expression this short comedy. So the effect then is to make the intangible principal term vivid and clear for discussion. Since the two terms are basically alike or different, the metaphor throws great emphasis on the qualities they do share. As when the poet calls attention to the brevity and triviality of stage plays, and then imputes these characters to life, this short comedy. Now, regarding to the use of the extended metaphor in this poem. As a matter of fact, in this poem, Raleigh makes an extended metaphor when he applies nearly most of the characteristics of the play to that of life. So, according to the poet, our mirth is the music of division. So, for him, laughter is musical accompaniment. Our mother's warmth, the tiring houses be. For him, warmth are dressing rooms, both are places of preparation, meaning the dressing rooms behind the scenes, behind the stage, where the actors and actresses change their clothes for their roles on the stage, to perform on the stage. Heaven, the spectator is, who sits and views, whosoever doth act amiss. Heaven is the spectator who judges, that is to say, the audience who watches this play on a stage and judges it along with its characters, that is to say, people. The graves which hide us from the scorching sun are like drawn curtains when the play is done. On their parts, graves are like curtains which fall at the end of the play. Means the end of our life in this world. In conclusion, Raleigh's play of passion becomes a short comedy to suggest somewhat sadly, perhaps, that life is not as serious as we might like to think it. Overall, this poem opens with a rhetorical question that Raleigh then goes on to explore. Similarly in structure, if not theme, to what thing is love. If life is a play of passion, then he suggests that love may be the central focus of our lives. We are prepared for the stage in our mother's womb, which perhaps suggests the inevitability of fate, as it's not really possible to consciously prepare as a tiny fetus. The comparison of life to a short comedy, however, emphasizes the fact that all things may not run smooth and it is all over quickly. In a way, this demonstrates the insignificance of man's life in contrast to the depth suggested in the opening line. Lines 5 and 6 link earthly life with the possibility of heavenly salvation should we live in the right manner with the judicious, sharp spectator, with the judicious, sharp spectator, God judging our every move with judgment made drawn curtains are the mud covering our coffins as we lie in our grave. Up to this stage, his contemplation seems quite positive with whimsical comparisons and mentions of amusement, passion, and virtue, let's say gas judgment. However, the last couplet is a complete change of tone and idea. Thus we march towards our deaths, suggest the inevitability of all our acts, leading to the end, and the short comedy mentioned before is now replaced with the tragedy, as death is not jest. That was the end of our lecture today. For further reading, please refer to this reference. Next lecture, we will study sound poetic devices. Thank you very much for your time and good luck.